Hi, I'm Natalie Cummins, and we're going to talk about the differences between inequalities and equations. So I think a lot of us are used to seeing something like that. X plus 3 equals 2. That's an equation. It's an equation because it has an equal sign right there. In order to solve this, we want to take 3 away from both sides, and that gives us x equals -1. Now, if you have an inequality, you're going to take that equal sign and you're going to say, well, x plus 3 is not exactly equal to 2. It will, let's say, be less than 2. So that now gives you a range of possible answers. However, you still solve it more or less the same way as you would an equation. So we're going to take 3 away from both sides, except now we've got the answer of x is less than -1. So I want to take us back to the number line, and we're going to graph the possible answers for this. So the number line, just a horizontal line, usually 0 is in the middle, and your positive numbers go to the right, and your negative numbers go to the left. All right, so we know that our range of answers, our x, is less than -1. Well, normally when you mark points on a number line, you would mark like a closed dot, but this is less than. This is not less than or equal to -1. -1 is actually not part of our range of answers. So that means we have to have another way to show where we're starting. One of the more common ways is the open circle. Not a closed circle, but an open circle. That shows that we're going to start just to the left of -1, and we're going to shade into the left of that, and we're going to make an arrow to show that our possible answers will keep going on and on and on into infinity. Any number that is less than -1 satisfies this inequality. Now, the only difference that really comes in when you're solving inequalities, where that's a little bit different from solving an equation, is if you have to multiply or divide by a negative number. When that happens, you are going to have to do a little something to make sure that everything stays balanced. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's say you have this inequality, 2 minus x is greater than 0. Okay, so we want to get rid of this 2, right? That's just subtraction. That's not a problem. That gives us x is greater, negative x is greater than -2. Well, a negative x is really just the same thing as saying -1 times x. Since when you don't see a number there, that means it's a coefficient of 1, and in this case, it's a coefficient of -1. In order to get rid of that -1, because I don't want negative x, I want x, we need to divide by a -1 on both sides. When we do that, we're going to have to flip the inequality symbol. So we're going to divide by a -1 and a -1, and that's going to give us x is less than, see, I flipped it, x is less than 2. Again, if we want to graph this real quick on our number line, I'll just make a little number line here. We have a 0, we have 1, and we're going to have the 2. And x is any value that is less than 2. So that means we're going to do our open circle again. And we're going to shade in all the parts that are to the left of the 2. and that satisfies this inequality. All right, so another example of an inequality would be something like this. Negative 3x minus 2 is less than or equal to a positive 7. Okay, so what we want to do is first we want to eliminate that minus 2, and we do the opposite, which is plus 2. 7 plus 2 is 9, and that leaves us with a negative 3x on one side of the inequality. In order to get rid of that negative 3, we're going to have to divide by negative 3 on both sides. Now, in an inequality, when you divide or multiply by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So that's going to cancel out. And so our answer is going to be x is greater than or equal to 9 divided by negative 3, which is just negative 3. Now let me show you on the number line what that's going to look like. We've got our 0. And we know that when we do a less than or a greater than, we use an open circle. For a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we use the closed circle. And this is greater than or equal to, so it's going to go to the right. Since going to the right, all those numbers will be greater than negative 3. And I'm going to do the arrow to show that this set of numbers has no ending point. It'll just go on into infinity.